Hello and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday with me, Ryan, aka Mac. This is a weekly show which covers everything from the world of Star Citizen over the past week. Links to everything discussed can be found in the description below, so let's get on with it. This week, Chris is back in the hot seat. We learn more about the Dragonfly and see it flying. Plus, I hit 10,000 subscribers. If you are still to sign up to the RSI website, please use my referral code as shown on screen or in the description, and you'll receive 5,000 United Earth credits which can be spent in the Voyager Direct store for your ships, your character, or whatever you choose. You don't have to spend anything to sign up. It's only once you pledge that I'll be granted an RP point, which will get me some little rewards in the future. So Chris was back this week for this episode of 10 for the Chairman. As always, he gets very excited. It's great to see. First question being, how does ships without ejection seats square up regarding the permadeath system? And he says that Drake are more like Russian military hardware. You've got the functional but the rugged, and they have no frills, whereas obviously American have more of the added extras. Things like ejection seats are left out, and when it comes to regarding the death of a spaceman, which is generally, you will have approximately like 9 lives. It's not been set in stone, but you'll have 9 lives, and every time you may blow up in a ship or take a headshot, then you'll lose one of these lives and wake up in a med bay. And then obviously once you've lost all those lives, your stuff will be passed on to a beneficiary that you have named yourself, and you'll receive those items. So you don't keep the character forever if you die multiple times. Which is good because it means that life is precious and people will not just go running headfirst into battle. He did say it would likely be more risky in Drake ships, but when you think about it, things like the Constellation you'll still have to get out of your seat and then go to an escape pod or, jump out of the EVA hatch. But you should have time to get to them. Your countdown of your ship will announce to you when it is starting to explode, and it'll say, destruction imminent or whatever, and you've got to get out. So there will be time to do it. At the moment, what we're seeing is ships blow up too quick. So people are panicking, thinking that they're not going to get out in time. But don't worry, they will sort it out. Second question. If I was EVAing and a pirate came to my ship and started trying to loot my ship while I was out on EVA, would I get a Moby-Glass notification alerting me to this? And he says, yes, definitely. One of the design objectives with persistence is control, locking, and safety of your ships. Right now, obviously, all ships are unlocked. You can go up and steal anyone's ships. Very annoying, but we needed 2.0, item 2.0, in order to get control and locking in. So now, when that gets put in, which is being worked on now, it's very close to being ready, I think, you will be able to control your ship by locking doors, setting up, hopefully turrets, maybe not. But this also sort of breeds boarding and how boarding will work. So you'll be able to hack locks on your doors, you'll be able to blow up and open doors, plus notifications, he says, will be pushed to you on your Moby-Glass if you are within range. So if you EVA too far away from your ship, then you won't get your notifications. Next question. What is holding up exploration, cargo, and mining and the economics from being implemented into the PU? Plus, can we get some updates on the progress of these mechanics? And he says at the moment, they're all focused on 2.4, getting persistence, which is what's needed for all these things. They will expand more on persistence over time, so the damage of your weapons, your ships, your health, so on and so forth. He says, first up is the Stanton system, which will be coming soon. It's 1 billion kilometers across. We'll have it this year, as well as procedural planets. As you know, performance on 2.4 is lower because they've introduced a lot of stuff. Because they've had to refactor the whole CryEngine to get the game to work. The CryEngine, the basic CryEngine that comes as standard, wouldn't handle everything here. So they've had to do a big refactor, which is still ongoing, to get it working. He did say 2.7 is likely to be the patch that brings procedural planets. It's not set in stone. Obviously, they don't put actual dates on things. But also, Org 2.0 will be later this year, which will be great for coordinating your friends, your groups, your organizations. He says once this stuff is done, then cargo and so on and so forth will be able to come in. They need the core mechanics first. He did mention that 2.5 will bring the pirate base for Outlaws. And when the Stanton system is finally fleshed out to the fidelity that they imagine, then they'll move on to other things or other systems. He did sort of mention that, when you're into like the 2.7, the procedural planets sort of tech and system, you'll see a planet as a tiny dot. And as you fly close to it, obviously this will grow into a full-scale planet. You'll then be able to transition down to ground without loading screens and look at tiny rocks and blades of grass. He says it's never been seen in a proper procedural generated land level before. He gets all excited, which gets me excited. So I'm very much looking forward to 2.7. Next question. We saw Nyx a while back, which looked nearly ready to be finished. What's happening with it? And he says, short term, it's going to be in the Stanton system. So again, 2.7. It'll debut with the procedural planet release. The landing zone and the environment is pretty much done for Nyx. They just need to integrate it into the star system. They are hard at work on it now. And when we saw it, procedural planets were not really as advanced as they are now. So I think what they've done is they've pushed it back to properly implement it as a procedural asteroid landing zone, which explains the delay. Artcore, which is the landing zone we have available at the moment, will not be in 2.7. That will come later on, and it will not have a loading screen, so you can just go straight into it from landing at Stanton. So, next question. Will AI opponents display some aspect of self-preservation, or can we expect them to all fight to the death? And he says they will definitely show self-preservation. He says he's been in Germany recently and had a big AI mission discussion about implementing the grand AI design, which is subsumption. They've got the final lockdown on the design and they want to get it in as quick as possible, but they are unifying all the AI and the mission stuff into one thing. So AI will have intelligence, they'll have bigger goals for objectives, goals for today, goals like long-term goals as a person, for example, and also display things like self-preservation and morale, which will be very, very cool. Second to last question, will the hangar module and universe module be combined? And he says, yes, that is the goal, to get it to that point this year where you don't need to jump between modules and loading screens. The hangars may be set up differently to what we see them as now, but the goal is to have maybe a hangar on a landing location of your choice, and then when the door opens, you can just fly into the universe, and so be it. So, final question. The Vandal Harvesters look interesting, and they're wondering what the role is for this ship in the universe since Procedural Planets has entered the picture. And Chris says that in the sort of the fiction and Squadron 42, in particular episode 2, which is when we'll see them the most, the Vandal don't really build rather than take, so they'll gather resources from the planets to utilise by the Vandal war parties. We will see them in the systems where the Vandal are present or threatening. He also mentioned that Procedural Planets will be a part of Squadron 42, some locations you'll be able to visit, and it'll be seamless traversing. So again, you'll see a planet, fly down to a facility and fight some pirates with no loading screens at all. He also mentioned that planets will be able to be walked around, so you can go anywhere on the planets. The ground vehicles will really help for planet exploration, like the Dragonflies and the rovers. The PU will have so much more content as well now with these procedural planets, because every moon, every planet can have missions on them. It's not just going to be in space or on space stations. Missions like exploration, rescuing, fighting pirates, so on and so forth. So many different missions can come just because of this procedural planet stuff. Very, very cool. Anyway, it's great to have Chris Roberts back in the hot seat. Let me know your thoughts. Let's move on. So moving on to Around the Verse, episode 2.37. Sandy and Ben mentioned that it's the 99th episode. They'll have a 100th edition or special edition. They're upping the video content and they're excited about the changes coming. They've got lots of work into 2.5. They've not hit the cutoff point yet, but we will see some additional Crusader stuff. Patch 2.4.1 it will be released soon, and that's to address some networking issues. Also, Noobifier, our very own redacted Noobifier, sent Sandy Gardner a t-shirt, very cool t-shirt. And also there's a subscriber live stream next week on Wednesday the 29th of June at 11 AM Pacific. The Austin DevOps team will be answering our questions. So anyway, on to news from around the verse, starting with the CIG LA office. They're updating the characters with the Marines, they've got some BDUs, also they're coming up with some more PU clothing, and addressing the item port system too and how it all works together. In terms of the Caterpillar, they're working on the engineering, interior, and on turrets, and also the interior for the command module. CIG in Austin, they are working on this Outlaw station, which is sort of promised for 2.5. It's called Grim Hex, I believe it was. They're just setting up the shops now. They've got the inventory set up. Not a lot of new stuff, unfortunately, but it does provide us with an incentive to travel to other locations. All energy weapons will be at this Outlaw station, whereas ballistic weapons can be found at Olisar. There'll also be some new pirate clothing too. More sort of frontier manufacturers. We've got bandanas, boots, shirts, jackets. Looking a bit more gritty, sounds like my kind of stuff. They're also doing a lighting pass to make the shops more beautiful. So Foundry 42 in the UK, they said in terms of the Idris production, we saw the Morrow tour a while ago. They're just polishing things like the corridors and getting it more up to date. They're also introducing the damage system and how it will look on the inside and the outside. On the inside, they say they will blow up. They said that if you blow out a power station, then, like typical sci-fi, the room will go dark. Red lights will come on. Consoles will start to blow up with sparks and there'll be smoke everywhere. Also, you can affect things like the gravity and so on and so forth. Very, very cool. I cannot wait to get inside the Idris. But if you target specific parts of a ship, say blow out a compartment, then anyone stuck within inside that compartment will get sucked out into space. And if you don't close off these compartments with the bulkheads, then it'll spread through the ship. They're also working on the hangar. You can land 3 small ships at the moment. They did land a Gladius. They've got automated landing for when the Idris is in flight, in particular because it is very difficult to land in the ships. But they've also tried landing 1 medium ship, and they said you need to be a very skilled pilot. At the moment, anyway. Hopefully they'll address it. Maybe, maybe not. And they Foundry 42 in Frankfurt, they say they're working on the Levski landing zone to go into Stanton. They did say that it's not Nix that we will see in Stanton, and I remember I mentioned that in Time for the Chairman. It is Levski. Nix is the system with which Levski is in, which is the landing zone on the asteroid, the pirate sort of, not pirate, but sort of an outskirt world where they just don't agree with the government, and there's like different factions controlling it. They are adding hangars and bedrooms also to this, so that's going to be cool. We can spawn in there. They said they have got a lot of space to fill on procedural planets. They will have lots of hotspots around the planet that we can visit, but then decide what to put in the other space. Hopefully, a lot of exploration will be in order. They did say they'll get us an early progress video, which will be coming up, but they didn't specify when. Behind the scenes this week was to do with the character pipeline, in particular, how a shirt gets designed or a t-shirt gets designed from scratch to finish before going into Kasaba. It looks very cool, especially when they pull down on certain areas and you can see the accurate folds blending in. Very, very cool. This week we had a Lawmaker's Guide to the Galaxy. It was the Rita system. As always, worth checking out. MVP goes to Romerick for showcasing every item of subscriber flair. That must have taken a while. And the ATV Fast Forward is actually the Dragonfly flying in engine, but only white box. So animations, textures, all that sort of jazz is not included. Anyway, that was around the verse. Let me know your thoughts. So as we've come to expect with every concept sale, we get a Q&A post, bringing any questions that we have regarding the ship and answering them to the best of their knowledge. So, Dragonfly Q&A post part 1. There is another part coming up. What is the Dragonfly speed? It's the first question. They say the current thinking for SCM, or Space Combat Maneuvering, is 180 meters a second, and then your max cruise speed would be around 300, which may sound quite slow, but they want it to be more about acceleration than top speed, so you should be able to overtake most freighters, but you won't be able to outrun the fastest of the fast. Next question, will it be able to fly in a planetary atmosphere to some degree, even though it cannot transition? They say it will not be capable of atmospheric flight. When on the ground, it will be operating in ground mode, and then when in space, it'll be space mode. There will not be any in between. So, third question, can it hover above water or other terrestrial surfaces? Say yes. The ground mode should be capable of all-terrain travel, but you'll still want to be mindful though, because things like hazardous substances could cause impact performance. So you've got to keep an eye on where you're heading, but it should be able to handle most things. Next question, would it be possible to increase the one standard cargo unit capacity by removing the second seat? And they say the second seat is actually the additional saddlebag. So you've got 2.25 SCU mounted on the rear sides, either side of the passenger seat by the looks of things, and then one optional 0.5 standard cargo unit taking up as the rear seat. So if you have a passenger, you will only have 0.5 of standard cargo units. Next question, can the passenger face forward? They say no, he is always facing back. Can we operate them in the hangar? They say it's still to be determined. It's not outside the realm of possibility, but they cannot commit to an answer yet. What ships can and cannot hold Dragonflies? A good question. They say ships which can deploy at least one are the Caterpillar, the Freelancer, the Constellation, the Starfarer, the Retaliator when it's got its cargo module, and the Idris. Ones that cannot are the Avenger and the Reliant. And ones that could fit but is undetermined, so basically any non-fully built out ship yet, is the Cutlass, the Carrack, the Banu Merchantman, the Reclaimer, the Orion, the 890 Jump, the Hull CD&E, the Crucible, the Javelin, the Endeavour, and the Genesis Starliner. Whew, that's a lot of ships. So, third to last question. They say the ship's mass is equal to the Merlin. Is this correct? And no, it's not. It was old information. The mass will be more around the 1,000 kilograms mark. So it is very, very small. Next question. Can we change the two size 1 guns for a size 2? Say no, the mounts cannot be changed. You can only swap the weapons with the same size, but it does have built-in ammo capacity if you are using ballistic weapons. And final question for this post. Will the Dragonfly be able to mag clamp onto other ships? And they say no, the Gravlevs are not magnetic. So I hope that post answered some of your questions. We'll get on to the next post in case there's any more that you wanted to know. So on to the Dragonfly Q&A part 2. Straight on to the questions. On a capital ship, can the Dragonfly be stored in the cargo hold? Very good question. They say for the compact mode to be actively deployable, it will need clear access to the port inside the ship. So they're not fully sure whether it will be a ship port or a vehicle port like the Grey Cat, so that's a smaller sort of port. They're still exploring the sort of crate storage for transport, which they've mentioned before, but any ship stored that way will not be able to be quickly deployed. You'd have to rebuild the ship in order for it to be usable. Next question. What does the maneuverability feel like when riding the Dragonfly? They say they're still working it out now, so obviously this is all skeptical. But at low speeds, it will feel nimble. At top speeds, it will lose agility, but expect extreme acceleration to its top speed. So I think that's what they're focusing on, is the acceleration on the ship. It's going to be super quick to get to the top speed, but it won't outrun everything. Third question. Can the Dragonflies maneuver and fly in compact mode? And they say yes, they are still operational in combat mode, but will be restricted to precision flight speeds until fully deployable. Because this compact mode, it sounds like it's more to just maneuver itself out of a ship. You don't want to be travelling at 180 meters a second. Next question, can you tow anything? For example, salvage support. And I honestly think that they should look into. They say they are actively looking into low speed ops, maybe in the form of a handheld tractor beam for the rear rider. So instead of holding a weapon, he would hold a tractor beam, but nothing deployable like a tow cable, which I think would actually be very, very cool. A good way of transporting more cargo to destinations when you get planetside. Maybe I'm wrong, let me know. Regarding fuel, will it be short stints planetside or longer journeys? Now this is still to be determined. Overall in space, you would be limited to in range through a combination of both your fuel capacity, but a lot down to your EVA suit's life support. Because obviously in open canopy, you need to have your own life support on your suit. On a planet though, they said that you should have the range to explore, especially in breathable atmosphere. Which is very cool, because obviously not all planets will have a breathable atmosphere. Next question, how will the ship be used as a scout? Does it possess any specific equipment? You say it does not hold dedicated scouting equipment, but the lower baseline signatures it emits, paired with the high acceleration, will help you dart around the land and space, mostly unseen. So it is going to be a low emissions kind of ship. Will you be able to push off in times of need as a quick emergency exit? Obviously they said Drake don't tend to have ejection seats, but yes, both the pilot and the rider can directly bail in an emergency with it being open canopy. Very useful. Next question, will it be relatively difficult to detect? Again, yes. Between its small size and its lower resource consumption, expect it to be a hard target to pick up on the radar, especially at distance. So again, a good scouting ship. Maybe if you're trying to attack a pirate who has landed planetside, you can send off 2 scouts to just look over the hill and see what's going on. How much protection will the shield actually offer? Now they say realistically it's minimal protection. It'll help deflect some fire but not stand up to direct fire from, say, a dedicated fighter. So it's more of a, you're spotted now, get the fuck out of there. Next question, what type of cargo would you expect the Dragonfly to carry? You said smaller objects, maybe things like other vehicle class components, but enough to carry some essentials. So whatever that means, I don't know. Third to last question, is it going to be modular? Can it assist in salvage, mining, repair, etc.? Good question. They say they're focused on getting the base version set up, but they don't have anything planned at this time. It's probably going to be something they'll revisit once the core gameplay is set up for it. Next question, will it have a HUD or will it be augmented? Now they say it's going to have a limited onboard HUD display, more info fed directly to the user's helmet, as we see on things like the Mustang series where it's all displayed on your helmet. So final question, will your oxygen levels of your suit be increased by any mechanism extending to the Dragonfly? Now they say no, the Dragonfly does not carry any form of onboard life support. The pilot and the rider would be dependent on their EVA reserves while in space and on non-breathable planets. What will be cool is when we start seeing other spacesuits come out. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more of an open canopy dedicated spacesuit with higher reserves of oxygen, but maybe less protection against firearms or so forth. There'll be different variations that you can choose if you want to choose them. Not guaranteed, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw them in the future. Anyway, that was the Dragonfly post Q&A 2. Let me know what your thoughts are. So also this week we had a new tracker post, plus the Galactic Guide this week is focused on the Banshee system. Galactic Guides are a must-read, so do follow the links and give it a read. So, for those of you who follow me on Twitter, you'll probably know this already, but over the weekend I passed the 10,000 subscriber mark. This is honestly something that I never thought would happen, especially not so quick. I really want to thank every single one of you who has helped me get to this milestone. I am truly grateful to you all. It's been an absolute pleasure and a great experience to just enjoy this together with every one of you, and I'm very excited for the future, so thank you so much. So that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for watching, and thank you to our subscribers, plus a massive thank you to our patrons as you make this possible. If you like what we do and want to help us make it better, follow the link in the description to our Patreon page to learn more.